Even though you wanted to her boyfriend on Raya, or her husband. Sorry,
Wait, which one was that?
Ben Affleck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I definitely, when I used to be on Raya and he would come across very concentrated check mark, yes, and like never getting it back. There were so many celebrities that I saw on Raya.
Celebrities on Raya.
Oh my God. I think his face came up for me so many times, multiple times.
That would have been a good one.
Right?
He's gorgeous.
I'm sure he just didn't see my profile, even though I clicked on his a million. Like, you know, they'll keep serving you up the same people, like again and again for some reason. So every time I'm like, yes, like, duh. You know, this is years and years ago. I don't want to put anything out there, but like, yes, yes, yes. And I know for a fact he had to have seen my profile and gone, nope. No. Why do they keep, because sometimes they send people that you keep saying no to. So like, I would have matched with him if he was interested.
Now
so
he regrets it.
I'm sure now, but like, why not then?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I hadn't seen Dr. Diamond yet.
It's a shift.
Yeah. You know, it's like it was this year that was, I entered the shift.
Oh, God.
You had it.
Did the Tom Brady roast, is that what precipitated the Golden Globes thing?
Yes. I don't even think I was on the radar for like hosting, you know, Tom Brady roast was live and it was such like an acute performance that you have to just be like on your shit. And then that was like, what about the Emmys? And I was like, in a couple months? Like they've never even invited me to do like interview people on the red carpet, let alone host. So it was like, that was when I was like, oh, maybe this will be my next thing. And then, yeah.
And then there it came.
Then it came.
I have to tell you, I've had the best time researching you for this podcast. I think you're kind of this feminist icon, and I'm not even sure you really know it yet fully. And I can definitely sense that in the response, like both my own response to your material. I'm telling you, all the girls in the office are losing their minds that you're here.
That means so much to me.
Really. I mean, and I've had so much fun. Like I've watched, I think, almost everything you've ever done, all your interviews.
Wow.
And you are so...
I'm sorry, by the way.
No, not at all.
That's a lot of research.
I laughed a lot.
Thank you, Gwyneth.
Totally reassessed my approach to blowjobs and amongst many other things.
Yeah. I forget what I said about those. Now, I look back on some of the sex stuff I used to talk about, and I'm like, right now at this point in my life, not interested. People are like, oh, she's a sex comic. I'm like, I think I'm like, my new thing is like talking about like, I don't want to have sex. It's like, it's changed for me, but I'm glad you got
that either means you're in perimenopause or you need to change your boyfriend. One or the other.
I think we'll try both.
Yeah. Good plan.
You're right. I think it's peri. It has to be.
That's a whole other podcast.
And it's not exactly my boyfriend, but it's like we work together. So I think it's a lot of that. It's like our approach to our relationship.
Interesting. So you might lose some polarity in that sense because you're like constantly entwined and right. There's a lot of.
And I like love him so much now. And that for me, I think desire has always been about like, if I can't have someone, like when we've been off and on forever. And so I think a lot of my sexual desire was wrapped up in like, I have to prove myself to him. And like, that almost turns me on as like, I'm going to win him over. And now he's won over. He like loves me for me.
Right.
And it's just kind of like, well, what am I doing this for then? So I have to like investigate, why am I turned on by like not being, like someone not being sold on me? Why does that really horn me up?
Why do you think?
Low self-esteem, I think. And just also maybe on the flip side of that, high self-esteem of like, I want to prove myself what other people doubt or... But I think it's probably low, the low self-esteem. And then I think it's also, being competitive fires me up. If I can make anything a competition, I'll get it done.
Interesting.
And I think I also had a lot of fears around sex and intimacy, late bloomer, didn't start partaking in that kind of lifestyle till like my mid-20s, late 20s. And then a lot of that was alcohol fueled. And so the first time I ever had was with someone totally sober sexually was like 29 or something.
Oh, wow.
So it was really late. And I think that was when I had to bring someone I think the only way that I could get to wanting to do it, because before I would just depend on drinking a lot to be like, oh, overcome my fear of being intimate with someone. And then my fear was to overcome my fear when I was sober was like, make it about winning or make it about a show like you're auditioning. Like pretend like you're a porn star right now, like out of body kind of thing. Don't be you, because who would want to be with you?
Right.
So I made it like a game. So now I just have to find another way to gamify it, I guess, or learn to love myself. I don't know. That seems tough, Gwyneth.
It's a lifelong pursuit. Let's put
Right?
it that way.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that because you're very open in talking about, the complexities of yourself, right? And the kind of the things that you've had to surmount. And do you think that fear of intimacy is like, did that come from something with one of your parents? Like that lack of self-esteem? Like what do you think happened?
It has to.
Right.
Like I have the best parents. They're like my best friends. And I always feel bad when I even throw them under the bus when I talk about this kind of stuff. But like, anyone who's doing it perfectly is going to mess up along the way. And I think that, late 90s, that was just like you were a part of that whole thing. It was like, it was treacherous. And there's lots of, reels and TikToks about what it was like to be young back then. But I didn't stand a chance getting out of there, like liking myself. When I see my friends that do, I'm like, how did you avoid all of that? Because I was paying attention.
Because you thought it was cultural?
Yeah, cultural, and definitely in my family too, though. Like I think my parents really liked Hollywood, liked TV, like we, admired stars. So it was kind of like, I want to be up there. I want to be one of the special ones. And to do that, I have to look a certain way. And so I had all the magazines, I had collage, like vision boards of like, you were up on my wall for sure. Like I had everyone. You 100% were, like multiple pictures, I'm sure, of you. I wish I would have taken a picture of it, but I used to just make collages of like, that's just what I wanted to be. And it seemed like thinness and beauty were two things that had to happen. And beauty I was kind of waiting for because I was like, I'll grow into, that's just going to show up. It didn't in the way that I wanted to. And then thinness, I kind of was like, oh, well, that's something that I can control. And I struggled to figure it out, but then I did figure it out. And then I lost the thread immediately and was totally out of control. So,
in terms of restricting?
Yeah. Oh, right. Just like, I was anorexic and hospitalized my senior year of high school. I like finally figured out a way to do it. And it was the first time I was like good at anything. And I look back on it now and I'm like, oh, because I was always wanting to be an actress or be discovered at the mall as a model. It wasn't happening for me. I didn't even go to a performing arts school, but I was like not getting into plays at like a normal high school. I was getting like Jewish townsperson B and not Diary of Anne Frank my senior year. Like really embarrassing and like trying hard and like, I'll dye my hair for it. And they're like, no need. So I was like, just getting all these signals back of like, you're not gonna do this secret dream you have that you kind of keep to yourself of like wanting to be on TV someday or be a performer. And yeah, and then I kind of gained some weight, just as you do in high school, just eating 8 bowls of cereal in a row while watching Oprah after school. Like you don't have any information. You're just like, cereal's Special K diet.
Right.
I literally got discovered at Forever 21 of like, you should model. And someone gave me their card. That manifestation of that dream I had. It turned out it was like a really seedy thing that my mom took me to in downtown St. Louis, and we were like looking around like, these people are models. And it was just like a scam, but at least someone gave me that card. And I was like, oh, I was discovered. And I
think more importantly, you were sent this really strong signal of approval, like external approval, immediately. Because you were thin and probably, our culture is so fucked up in that way. And
it's nearly impossible.
Yeah.
I feel like with the brainwashing that's taken place, like I feel brainwashed to feel like I'm not good enough if I'm not thin. And yet I've been the size that I'm always yearning to be many times in my life. And I can look back and go, well, you weren't happy then. There was something else that popped up for you. Or, then your face was too gaunt. And then you were looking at your wrinkles and you wanted to fix that. So it's all an illusion. I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by aging. And then this business just obviously magnifies all of that.
But I'm interested because like you are, and this is one of the things that struck me about you when I was watching you, like what an iconoclast you are, in the sense also that you are just empirically a really beautiful woman.
Thanks. Like people keep saying, I have a joke about it. Like, well, Nikki, you're like Joan Rivers. Like you don't need to be attractive, which I think is insulting to Joan, even though and then you go back and look at Joan. Joan's whole pursuit was to be pretty. She felt like an ugly girl. Like that was she wanted to be taken seriously as like a serious dramatic actress. She failed herself in not becoming a serious dramatic actress. And she fell into comedy to kind of like get at the punchline before anyone else could about her. And I always joke and say, you know, I am like Joan. I'll probably die undergoing a medical procedure as well.
God forbid.
No, God forbid. But people forget she was in pursuit of that as well. It's not like she was just like, no, I'm the goofy comedian. Like she wanted to be seen as a stunning woman.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? I mean, there's probably people who don't, but I'm not one of them.
How do you reconcile that, this sort of unashamed desire to be a beautiful woman and also to be totally self-accepting? Like watching one of your things, you were like, yeah, my boobs are falling and this is falling. And that you're working on trying to accept that.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
fighting it.
Right.
It's a paradox because that's like, you have to give up at some point because I don't really want to be sexy when I'm in my 90s. I think that's like, you can be like cool and like stunning and interesting and beautiful in a different definition of the word beautiful, but like sexually desirable, like that's just not, you don't want to have sex in your 90s.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe I don't want to say that all women in their 90s don't want to have sex, but I would hope that I don't want to.
I hope they do. You do. I hope I do want to.
Maybe I do. Maybe it's just right now I'm like, I don't want to do it now, so why would I want to do it in 50 years?
Maybe you're tired.
I think I'm tired, Gwyneth. But I think that's the paradox that I'm struggling with is like, I want to love myself for as I am, but I also have to keep doing the things that will make me like myself more. I mean, like that's the thing is like, and that's what I get mad about when people are like, love yourself. And yet then you see them doing the things like
women can't really,
you can love yourself at every part of the process.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm trying to learn. Like I can still want to get a brow lift and be able to accept myself without one. And
you don't need a brow lift.
Okay, not yet,
Definitely
but like someday.
We'll discuss.
Someday in August, this upcoming August,
No,
August 22nd, already booked.
Oh,
yes.
No,
yes.
You're perfect.
No. Don't worry. I'll deny it.
Oh my God.
No. I'll just say I've been laughing a lot. Just things are really good in my life. That's the thing that I'm exploring in stand-up that I love is like, and I'm sure you felt this or just witnessed it at least of, you know, if you have plastic surgery or any kind of procedure that is noticeable, it's like, how dare she? That's a bad example for our daughters. Like, you changed your face, or God forbid it goes wrong. And then people go, she ruined her face. I mean, we know, I say that line, you know exactly the actresses I'm thinking of. And it's so cruel because it's like, they didn't want you to say that about them.
No.
They were just trying to stay the way you liked them when they were famous because they felt like they'd put out to pasture. So they're trying to fix it. And now you're mad at them for just maybe getting the wrong doctor or having, you know, things happen. And it's like, I feel like you get punished unless you do it so subtly that no one notices. And people just go, she's drinking more water, meditating. And so you have to kind of navigate it in this way. And that's why I'm kind of excited to start getting work done so I can be more vocal about it. Just so I can be like, yeah, I look different because I'm rich now. And I go to this so-and-so doctor. Like if you just look into it, not everyone can afford it. And that's why you can tell yourself you don't look like people on TV.
Yeah.
You can't. It's not because you did something wrong. Because I think I grew up thinking, man, how come you failed? And that's why I like your whole thing because you make it accessible, doing things that everyone can kind of do. And I feel like that's important. And that's why I'm excited. It's rare to find something in stand-up comedy that hasn't been already like the lid's been blown off of or like we're getting honest about this thing. Like women have had this moment of like getting really honest, especially with, you know, social media. And now I'm like looking for the next thing. Like what's the next thing I can talk about honestly that hasn't been talked about? What am I looking for more of? And that kind of inspires me.
So just going back really quickly, so I think one of the things that's sort of destabilizing about watching you in the best way is this convergence of physical beauty and your like searing humor. Like when I watch the Tom Brady roast, part of it, like you're so thrown off by how funny and how pretty you are, right? Like
that's a fun juxtaposition to me though. Like that's comedy to me is like the unexpected. So I don't even factor that in, but I don't think it hurts me.
No, I think it's very unique.
And, I always think back to my influence of like, someone was just asking me the other day about, influences early on. And I always say Sarah Silverman because it is truly the person that I first saw and was like, oh, that's what I'll do.
Right.
That's like an in. But really, I think about it, I'm like, oh, she was the first girl that was like being like kind of indecent, saying raunchy things, saying honest things, weird stuff. But you were also like, she's really cute.
Very.
And like, I kind of saw even my dad being like, she's a looker. Like, you get kind of, and I'm like, oh, I want both. Like, I want to be smart and I want to be able to like hang with the guys and talk like the guys or girls from my experience, but like, culturally like guys.
Yep.
And then I want to also be desirable in that way. So.
And it's very new. I mean,
it is new.
It's
and
very
some people
unique.
say you can't do it and I agree. Like some people, I do get suspicious when there are people that have always been hot, like from a young age, and then they're like comedians. Cause I think you have to really like have a lot of self-doubt and insecurity to be like a good comic, or at least one I want to listen to.
Right.
So I remember early on some girl kind of in the back of a comedy club, and she was this girl that like bullied me when I first came on the scene because I was like young and kind of cute, and the guys were interested, and everyone was like, oh, she's the next thing. And this girl was like very threatened. And I understand it. Like there's so few women and a new one comes in. You're like, what's this? So she was in the back of the room and someone told me later on that she was like muttering like, the high school cheerleader shouldn't be doing stand-up comedy. And I agree with her. Like you don't want to hear from the high school cheerleader like about like, I feel gross, or like just kind of complaining about life. It's that person doesn't have, I don't know how to say it, but you don't really want to hear comedy from them. And oftentimes they can't offer it, which is fine. But I wasn't that. Like I might look like I was that now, and I'm flattered that anyone would think that. But that's just, I always felt less than growing up. And I still have that in me. Like it's like, you never lose what you started out as.
Right.
Yeah.
You prepare. So like there's so much rigor that you bring to your writing, to your practicing. I heard you did your Golden Globe speech like 91 times.
Yes.
Is there a difference there between like preparation and an obsessiveness? Is it a pursuit of perfection that's sort of in the same vein as like this physical perfection or restricted eating? Like, is it coming from the same place?
Dude, such a good question, because yes, like I've never even connected it. Like when it comes to the physical perfection, I always feel like if I'm not doing everything to reach my potential of beauty, like that's why when you get money, you're like, oh, now I have to do all these treatments that suddenly they were blocked off from me. I couldn't afford them. And now I'm like, I have to do the lasers and I got to do the surgery. Of course I don't have to, but now they're accessible. And so when I'm preparing for a set, if I leave any potential on the floor, I failed myself. Like I want to go out there, and the only way I'll be able to sleep at night after that, for right or wrong, is if I can say I did everything I could to be great. Because then if it's not great, which could not be, something can happen, I can say, well, I couldn't have done anything differently.
Right.
And I think I used to go into things being like, well, I'll try my best and then it'll go however it goes. And then I torture myself afterwards if it's not good, because I go, you knew that you could have gone out that one night and run sets instead of staying in. And so now I just have to plan it so that I don't have those regrets, because that's the most painful thing I've ever felt in my life, is getting done with something and going like, why did I say that? Why didn't I just think before that interview with Gwyneth that she maybe could have asked that question? If I would have just meditated that morning, I could have maybe prepared for that question and I had an interesting answer. It was right there, Nikki. Why didn't you think of it? You just talked to someone the other day about this thing. And then you're sitting across from Gwyneth and you have the most interesting answer to her story and you didn't say it. Like, that's a conversation I might have with myself later on today. Hopefully I won't. But like,
so self-punishing.
Oh,
it's like,
love it.
No.
I know. I'm trying desperately to be nicer to myself. The other day, I want to share this because I think it's good. I woke up and I was having like a punishing self. Like I had slept through Pilates and I could have gone, but I just canceled. And then I had the $15 fee for canceling. And I'm like, oh God, and it's the third day in a row I've done that, thinking I'd get up for 7:30 Pilates. And so I'm like, wake up and I'm just like, oh, I have to wash off this spray tan, and there's like spray tan all over the bed. And I just feel gross and my room's a mess and like the door's open and it's just like humid in the room, but also cold. It's like, I was just like, oh, why did you do this to yourself? And then I just went like, And I like kiss myself on the arm gently. I don't even know why. I think it's because something in me was like, girl, be nice. And this gentle kiss on my arm, like literally like grounded me and was like, oh, you're like a sweet little girl.
Yes.
Like, remember that, keeping photos of yourself as a kid and like looking at them to remind yourself of that's like who's really struggling in there. And like trying, I really do the work. It sounds like I don't, but I do the work to silence all of these thoughts. But man, they bubble up. And especially around my period, it's just like, there's no fortress to protect me from them.
I've noticed that in these hormonal changes that I'm dealing with now. Like I've had anxiety and I've never had it before. And mine comes in self-punishing thoughts as well. And it's only like a couple nights a month that it happens, but I'll really like, and I've never been that, I mean, of course there are things about myself that I've never liked and whatever, but this is like where you're totally hijacked and you're lying there like going over every mistake you've ever made.
And so is yours like going back through mistakes you've made? Like, is it like finite things that are like, why did I do this today or yesterday? Or is it like overarching things? Like, what's your anxiety look like?
It'll be like, why did I make out with my friend's ex-boyfriend in high school? How could I have done that? How could I have done that?
Whoa.
Or like, why did I not say, the hard thing when it needed to be said in that conversation? And instead now I've made a mess because when I was, 38, I didn't say the honest thing. Like really, it's
stuff from like way back.
It's stuff from back because, since I've turned about, I don't know, around 40 onwards, which are you already 40? Yeah. For me, like something happened when I turned 40 and I started to like actually feel more comfortable with myself and like myself more. And then in 50, you're like, oh, I'm okay. I accept myself, but it's funny when you said kissing your own arm, like I do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'll give myself a hug. Like I talk to myself.
Yes.
I talk to my like little girl in there.
Yeah.
And it's actually very powerful, I think, to go in and reparent yourself in that way and like show your little self that you are a grown up and you are in control of things. And it's not the same as when someone, made fun of you when you were little. And, it's actually an incredibly powerful tool.
I know. And it's so ridiculous. It feels so ridiculous though, mirror work you read about or like saying stuff to yourself
I've
in the
never
mirror.
done that.
I can't bring myself to do it either. But I think talking to myself and not having to look at is been really helpful. Or just even putting it through the filter that we all know of like, would you talk to your friend this way?
Yeah.
No, you'd make out with her husband, but no.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
you
what the fuck?
You would never talk, like just that stops you in your tracks of like, why is it okay for me to talk to myself this way? And why don't I let myself off the hook like I do everyone else and have a million reasons why that person, that's okay that you made that decision.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense. Why can't I have the same empathy for myself? I don't know, but I do know it gets better.
Working on it though.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
Like even like I really struggle with like I've quit weed or I've quit alcohol and eating disorder behavior. Like I've got a handle on all of that.
But not weed.
But not weed. Weed, yeah, if you can't tell. Weed is the one that I like, just sometimes just want it and I let myself have it. And then I go through this stage of like feeling guilty about it. But my new thing that has really helped me not feel like not do it as much is letting myself do it. It is not being like, because, okay, if I'm going to smoke weed, why don't you enjoy it instead of like then beating yourself up while you're high? Like you're already high.
Right.
Have fun.
Right.
And listen to some DMB, like sit and think about God or whatever. And like, or, whatever it is instead of, and just go, oh, I guess I needed this. Like let yourself have the things. If I overeat, I just go like, well, guess I needed that instead of like, you idiot, because then that'll lead me to overeating more. Like the anxiety is what caused me to want to smoke weed. Why am I giving myself more anxiety because I did it?
Yeah. It sounds like there's just like you've associated like rigidity in some sense with like being okay or, it's like
perfection.
you have, this rigid idea of what you're supposed to be and supposed to, and I mean, look, there have definitely been periods of my life where I've struggled with that so much, but I think the body also responds to what you tell it,
Yes.
I remember like this doctor saying to me once, because I was like, oh my God, I ate like fast food, and I was trying to be like healthier and deal with inflammation, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd eat, and the doctor was saying to me, but if you're relating to the food like it's poisonous and really bad for you, then that's how your body's going to respond to it.
Totally.
And it was just this idea of like, I don't know, loosening up a little bit, not being so binary, like getting out of this right, wrong, like perfection, terrible paradigm.
Yes.
That's a pursuit that you have to really commit to. So I think it's great that you are trying to bring this softness in.
Forgive myself for what I am. Like
Yeah.
if I could not smoke weed, I would not smoke weed.
Right.
But I can't. I was just born as someone who needs to reach for it that day. So like that's my job my job is to be funny, but really what funny is like saying the thing that no one else is saying. And it's being honest. So I'm so glad that I have that because it helps me so much because when you get honest, then people can go, hey, are you okay? Like that's really been the trick for me.
And does the honesty and authenticity in what you say sort of lessen those punitive voices?
I think so. Because you hear them, you say them out loud, and also you get other people's feedback on them of like, whoa, what's going on here? This is, because in your head, you're like, no, this is like, I deserve to be punished this way and to be talked to this way. And then when you say it out loud, you get feedback from people that it's like, that's not how you should talk. Or, you talk about on stage and then people reach out and say, oh, me too. And you go, you?
Wow.
What?
Right.
I would never think that for you. And then I talk that person through it of like, well, you shouldn't be doing that to yourself. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of giving me the
light bulb going on.
Yeah, of like, well, that's how I should talk to myself. So I think that does help. But there are like, I act like, oh, it's so amazing to just be free in what I say. But it also gets me into so much trouble and makes me a liability in a lot of ways.
You think? Why?
Well, I think that like sometimes it's overshare. I mean, there's like this kind of backlash to the honesty movement of like, we don't need to hear all, like sometimes especially with sex stuff, I can watch back stuff and I go, Jesus Christ, no one needs to hear about that, Nikki,
Oh,
and so it was maybe,
but it's also about what you were saying at the time for that. Like, it's like you move culture forward when you talk, it's like you're breaking paradigms. It's really important to do that.
That's a good point. Like, I just have to look back at it and go, that's just what you were feeling then. And really, I was just, whenever I'm saying stuff on stage that might seem shocking or like, why are you saying that? It's just because I'm like trying to make entertainment for people like me who was like, I wish some girl would tell me like what it's like to give a blowjob because I had not given one until I was 21. And I talked to my friends about it, but they just are like, well, you just go down. Like I was wanting details. And so as soon as I started giving them, I'm like, I need to make something that's public for girls who probably shouldn't be watching this to watch when they're young, to know what it's going to be like, what happens. Because it's just, sex to me was just like so confusing and so shrouded in secrecy and shame. And as soon as I got in there, I was like, I have to tell everyone. And everyone's like, yeah, we know. We've been doing this. And I'm like, but isn't it weird that like, it was just weird. Sex is still weird to me and fascinating for different reasons now. But yeah, that's really always like, kind of, I write from that place of like, what 5 years ago or like even a year ago, what's something I know now that I wish someone would have kind of let me in on?
I love that lens. Like, or what can I dispel or like, how can I teach in this moment?
How can I teach? Because if you give girls, like if you tell girls what happens when you're having sex or what should be expected and what isn't, like how many stories do you know of women who like a guy did something weird to them in the realm of like just taking advantage of or doing something weird sexually?
Like 100%.
What's that?
Like 100% of women?
Yes, exactly. Like 100%.
Right.
That every single woman's been through some kind of weird thing, and men too, where you're so far in and you go, I guess this is what happens. Like early on, you go, I guess all guys do this and I just haven't heard this. And so you do it and then you come to find out, oh, this isn't at all what happened.
No.
So I think it protects people to talk about stuff like this. And like right now in my act, I'm like talking about like pedophiles and people who have been sexually abused. And it's like not like what you would normally go to for like a comedy routine. And I'm not like mocking it at all, but I'm like, I think we need to talk about this because in my experiences growing up, like I'm starting to talk to my girlfriends and a lot of them and guy friends have suffered abuse as children.
So many.
And so many more than anyone thinks about. And luckily, it didn't happen to me. And I feel like because of that, I can talk about it in a way where I'm not triggered. I understand if people are and don't want to talk about it, but I think it just needs to be talked about more. And people are like, you're making people uncomfortable. And I'm like, but I got to work through the kinks of this act so I can get to a place where we can talk. I can have an act where I'm like, this is a hilarious bit that also talks about something that's happening a lot that makes people that may have had it happen to them feel almost like not proud. Well, yeah, proud of themselves that they got through it.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever make anyone feel bad, but you kind of have to, that's my new thing of like, I've noticed a lot of people have been abused, but they're still even like, yeah, well, as a child, my uncle. And I go, why are you talking? Like, why can you tell people about, oh, I got spanked as a child. My dad beat me with a belt. And that's kind of like, not okay, but like, no one goes, oh, what did you do to get that done? But like being molested for some reason has this still kind of like, yeah, I was like, there's a shame around it.
Because the perpetrator, like that's the key tool to keep them safe, right?
To keep them safe.
Is to make you feel
like
so
you
much
had
shame
a part in
and
it.
secrecy.
And so you shouldn't tell anyone because people will go, well, why did you get molested? And so it is, you're absolutely right. It's wrapped up in it. And I'm like, we need to take it back.
I think this is brilliant.
I'm like, it's really not something I think people representing me want me to go down this road. But
I
I'm
think
like,
it's incredible.
I'm fired up about it, to be honest with you. Like I do a lot of research on it. Like I'm not just talking about it as someone who doesn't know what they're talking about. Like I really feel passionate, and I'm talking with people who have had this affect them to make sure I get it right. But it's my next thing of like, I want to blow the lid off this a bit more than it has been.
I honestly think that's so amazing and brave and so necessary.
Thanks.
I mean, again, like almost 100% of the women that I know, certainly in my age bracket, have had something happen to them.
Yeah.
And it is something that gets like stuffed down into your cells that you don't want to think about, that you don't want to talk about. One of my best friends actually just published a book yesterday, and it got Oprah's book club, which is so exciting.
Oh my God, I just pre-ordered it.
But
The Tell.
She's one of my closest friends. And
when I was researching about that book, because they weren't saying what it was, but was it something that she came to terms with and like realized how wrong it was later? But at
she
the time,
did a therapeutic MDMA session.
Yep.
And it all came back.
Gwyneth, I have a friend that had the same thing happen to them after a therapeutic mushroom thing of like it all clicked, and then it's been verified by other family members. Like this isn't just something, and it's just the root of so much evil in our society, just from the perpetrators, but then also the pain that it causes and
the downstream impact. On
if there was a way to talk about it more openly, where it didn't make everyone feel weird, and you could just like.
Yes.
These victims would be able to. I can't wait to read her book. Thank her for putting that out there because it's so brave and like extraordinary. Because we need more people screaming about it.
We do. How do you adjudicate like what's too far? I mean, if you take the Tom Brady roast, for example. That to me was like just pitch perfect.
Oh,
like,
thank you.
You know, and you could see on his face that he didn't think it was too far, right?
Yeah. I hope so. I didn't really get a chance to talk to him after, but I hope. Because I didn't want to, there is that like you don't want to make someone feel bad, but your job is to do that. So it's like this fine line where I just try to celebrate them and I try to research them enough where I'm like, I become a fan. And then when I'm a fan of someone, I don't want to hurt them. If I really like someone and I'm like, wow, this guy's really special. Let's come at it. How can I become a fan first? So, going into Tom Brady, I just didn't know that much about him. And then once I read his book and like watched all the documentaries, I'm like, I love this guy. And then I felt like, okay, now I can go to town because I know it's coming from a place of love. Like deep down, I am in awe of this man. But yeah, there's some things like that I do regret of certain roasts where I've just, I knew mentioning, like for instance, like mentioning his ex-wife's name. Like she's not there. She's not being paid to be there. Tom's being paid. So like, fine, go after him. But I'm like, I had to make a decision, like, do I say this person's name who's not here, who is definitely not going to like this joke? The joke isn't making fun of her at all, but it does put her in a sexual scenario that I'm sure she's like, I don't need people picturing that. And
It was funny though.
it was funny. And I struggled with it because I'm like, how I would probably be annoyed at that. And I go, okay, I'm willing to risk that person never really liking me and giving her and like being okay with it and not being like, oh, grow up, take a joke. Like, no, you have a right to be annoyed. Like,
right.
And I risked ever being friends with you because of it. And that's probably a bummer because you seem like a really nice person. You know what I mean? Like there are times like that where I go, I make mistakes. Like there's things I've done with jokes that I'm just like, what were you thinking? And that's
But don't you have the latitude to do that when you're a comedian? Like, isn't that kind of the whole point?
Yes, but then when you get a certain level of fame, you become friends with these people, and then they can become upset about stuff. And then you like when I was just like a nobody, it was like free range. Like, and I never even thought I would ever be at a Vanity Fair party, like mingling with people I could have maybe done bits about. So like now I walk with a little. It's not like I'm a pussy now of like because I want to be in with the Hollywood elite. It's like I just don't want to talk shit about someone I might have to meet. Like that's just a normal thing. I think that.
But don't you think people are forgiving like as well? Like if you had a good mean joke about me,
yeah,
I would.
No, listen. You are different. Like you are someone who has a proven track record of having a sense of humor, not only having a sense of humor, but about yourself as well. So like you wouldn't scare me. Like if I had a joke about you that was like making fun of the whole Goop, clean living, vagina, egg, candle stuff. Like, yeah, you've heard it all before. Like I know the area to go in with you. And because I like you. Like I know it comes from a place of like, if there's anything I'm saying rude about Gwyneth, it's because it's coming from jealousy. And she would know that too. You know, if, for example, there was a bit I was doing about J-Lo for a while about like how her skin cream, I was like, don't trust J-Lo's skin cream. She doesn't want you to be as hot as she is. She's selling you foot cream. She's mean girlsing you, you know? And I was doing it for a while on stage and I was going to put it in a special, but I was like, actually, I think I kind of like J-Lo. And then I was watching her documentary and then I really liked her. And I was like, oh, I've had this chick all wrong. Like she's like any kind of opinion I had about her was like the media pushing it down my throat. Like it was a story I was being told. I was being brainwashed. I think I can see through all of this. And I really like her. And I realized like, what's this joke about? Oh, she's so pretty. Nikki, you're just jealous. Like did she do anything to you except be pretty? And then when I was able to like pinpoint that, then I talked about this on a separate thing that she actually saw and which I never intended for her to see it. But I was willing to tell that joke knowing that if she ever did see it, it was couched around me being like, I'm just jealous of you, J-Lo. So she sent me her face cream and said, this is for your feet. So funny. And I didn't even remember saying it. I was just like, who sent me this? And then, and then we've since become like friends from it. But it's like, yeah, there's certain people that I like, I do think have a good sense of humor about themselves. In fact, like at the Golden Globes, like I thought, you know, Ariana and Cynthia would have no sense of humor about Wicked. It is Wicked. It's about marginalized people being this is a triumphant story of overcoming, discrimination. And we are not to joke about Wicked because it is musical theater. It is gay. It is like, it's everything that society is like kind of they're already struggling enough. Why poke fun at this thing? And also, you know, their interview cycle was just so sincere.
Right.
And I didn't want any moment.
Of tears and
yes, the whole thing.
Nails and holding hands.
Yes, it was holding
Very
space, the
sweet.
whole thing. And I was there for it, but man, did I want to mock it, right? Also, like so many jokes written about that kind of like mocking Wicked. And I was just like, I don't think this is it, guys. Like in my writer's room saying, you know, like we all kind of collectively agreed if we're going to go after celebrities, maybe not Cynthia and Ariana, because the worst thing to do at an award show is to cut to a celebrity that you make fun of. And they're like, you know, like, and then no matter how funny you are, you've bombed because that person just rolled their eyes at you. And like, even me as someone who's savvy would go, that guy bombed. Like no matter what, because the reaction is everything. Like, it's so important, the cutaways, so important. So, you know, I explicitly told the director, and which they already are on it, like, we don't go to a table that's not laughing. We go to comedians. Like, let's start like with comedians and like make sure you see who's laughing, and we watch other award shows to see who's good laughers, you know?
Oh, wow. This is amazing. You
But
see, this is back to your insane preparedness.
Yeah, just like, let's not, and let's not put a camera in someone's face who like doesn't want it there. Like that's annoying too. I've had that happen.
Who's
at
a
award shows.
good, celebrity laugher then? Who did you tell them to cut to?
Steve Martin and Martin Short, because they're like comedians. They're already there for it. Yeah, they'll be into it. There was who was also someone that, I mean, looking back on it now, Eddie Redmayne was amazing. Adrian Brody had a sense of humor. Like there were people that I was like, oh, just stay off Adrian when we do this joke about him being a 2-time Holocaust survivor. Adrian Brody, but he was like there for it. Glenn Powell was awesome. But I said, let's go really soft.
Glenn is a great guy.
So great.
He's
and
such a
funny
good guy.
and like, love. But I said, let's steer clear of Ariana and Cynthia. But boy, was I wrong, because I get out there and we do like a couple of softballs about, I do some jokes about Wicked. I loved it. My boyfriend loved it. My boyfriend's boyfriend loved it. Just like gentle jokes. And they were like, I rarely like can sense someone's energy in the audience because I kind of blur my eyes because I don't like to see people disappointed. So I just make everyone kind of like this blurry sheen, But I could see Ariana and Cynthia were like this the whole time, like dying to be made fun of. And and then you look a little bit more into both of them. They have great senses of humor about themselves. And I'm like, that was a missed opportunity. Like I thought that they might be too cool.
Right.
Same way I thought about J-Lo. Like I'm not doing that joke in a special because she's going to come after me. No, she like sends a joke back to me.
Right.
Like I have to stop. I think that sometimes I underestimate people who I put on a pedestal of being like taking themselves too seriously.
Even though you wanted to fuck her boyfriend on Raya, or her husband. Sorry,
wait, which one was that?
Ben Affleck.
Oh, yeah. I definitely, when I used to be on Raya and he would come across very concentrated check mark, yes, and like never getting it back. There were so many celebrities that I saw on Raya.
Celebrities on Raya.
Oh my God. Wow. So many, like, I think Andrew Garfield's face came up for me so many times, multiple times.
That would have been a good one.
Right?
He's gorgeous.
I'm sure he just didn't see my profile, even though I clicked on his a million. Like, they'll keep serving you up the same people, like again and again for some reason. So every time I'm like, yes, Andrew Garfield, like, duh. This is years and years ago. I don't want to put anything out there, but like, yes. And I know for a fact he had to have seen my profile and gone, nope. No, why do they keep, because sometimes they send people that you keep saying no to. So like, I would have matched with him if he was interested.
Now
so
he regrets it.
I'm sure now, but like, why not then?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I hadn't seen Dr. Diamond yet. Symmetrical. No, but that's
what did Dr. Diamond do for you?
He just like
we sell his skincare on Goop.
Oh yeah, it's a medicine. Yeah, so good. He just injections. Like he does like a like literally behind my ear filler on the temples.
What does that do?
I don't know. It just gives you like a structured face. And then he just stares at you very long and kind of goes like this. And like, you're like literally like, talk about intimacy, like this close to him, just staring at like, now look here. I'm like, do I have to look in your eyes? And then I just stare at like the middle of his forehead. And then he kind of just goes, burp, 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 and just like different filler stuff. I'm trying to get away from filler though, because that's the new trend. I'll get back into it when it's back in, but I don't mind a little Botox lip lift.
Well, I've never done that.
So that's like when they put Botox up here and they're not supposed to. It's not like
it's off label.
Yeah, it's like not, Botox doesn't advertise that's a thing you should do, but everyone knows about the Botox. Like
I've heard of it, but
what's it called even? It's not called a lip lift. The lip lift is the surgical procedure I do want because they just remove a little bit of
lip flip.
Thank you. And I sometimes get this, and then I went really frozen. I put a lot of units up in my forehead recently because it's like could be an accordion up there, and I'm getting it. Thank God I'm getting movement back because I was real.
Was it like a pre-Golden Globes thing?
No, it was right after because I think I like saw too much movement on Golden Globes, and I was like, take it out. Like you just get.
Did you rewatch it?
No, not you see stills and stuff, but then I saw, I don't know what made me go in and go, let's go hard. Because I guess I've never done it before. I'm like, I'm not going to be on TV a lot coming up. Like, let's see what it's like to put a lot of Botox in my forehead. Because I do very little usually. And it was a mistake because I just, there was something I did where it was actually last week. So it's not out actually. It's still very much in. You can probably see it. But I found out like my dog went missing. My parents were watching my dog and thank God it was found, but she was out for like 15 hours.
No.
And so I'm on stage in Hartford last Friday. I do the first show and honestly I had a blast because it was like my adrenaline was up doing the show that I forgot that my dog was missing. It was like the only part of my day that wasn't like, but then the second show, she was found and my assistant on the side was like, they found her. And there's like this picture of me discovering it. I'm like, and my face is so like, you can tell my brow was like trying to furrow, but it was like, and I'm like, I just zoomed in, I'm like, this is not good. That's the fun. That's what I like to have, the fun I like to have with it of like, I made this choice to do this to my face. I went a little bit nuts. Like, you know, it's like the way you look at your eyebrows through the years or any kind of like beauty decision. I allow myself to have a sense of humor about it. And I think that's, my friends do not on Girls Chat appreciate when I like start making comparisons and like do side-by-sides. Like, I swear I do look like Mickey Rourke and I'll prove it. Oh, you don't think I look like Marjorie Taylor Greene? Well, what about this? And I'll like fade her face out and onto mine. And I'm like, you can't even deny it. And they're like, Nikki, you're psychotic. What is this app you're using to AI your face? Like, I'm like, well, I paid $5.99 just to prove to you girls that you can't lie to me and say, I don't look like Marjorie Taylor Greene when I do. And they're like, oh my God. I literally like online bully myself sometimes, but honestly, just to make my girlfriends laugh and to prove my point of like, don't take this from me. I'm allowed to feel a little bit ugly today. I'm on my period. It'll go away tomorrow. You all know. But like today, let me prove that I look like an ancient clay mask.
When I turned 40, I had a really unfortunate over Botox
you did?
experience. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I
think it was something around, I was turning 40 and I really like flipped out. I had like one of those moments.
Oh yeah.
And I was living in London at the time, and I went to a doctor, and I literally will show you pictures. Like, I was a monster, and there was a surprise birthday party for me. I'll never forget.
And you
Kate,
did not look surprised,
no.
Or you really did permanently.
I remember Kate Hudson, who's an old friend who's so honest. She's like, honey, what did you do?
Yes.
I was like, yep, I don't know.
It's funny. Well, that's great because it's like a bad haircut. It will go away in a few months.
Exactly.
It's not permanent. But when when you start getting to the permanent stuff, that's when you're like, I can't take risks on this. Like,
can I ask you one question around your non-monogamy thing?
Yeah.
Is that really? Because when I've listened to you talk about it, it sort of sounds like a theoretical, and like that it's really about going full circle what you were talking about in the beginning, like around competition.
Yeah.
And are you really non-monogamous?
No. I mean, I wouldn't mind if my boyfriend were to fool around with other people.
Do you really think you wouldn't mind? Has he done it?
Yeah.
And you didn't mind?
Like years ago, there were like a couple times. I don't mind as long as the girl knows that it's not like she's gonna like be, because I think girls sometimes when they can be convinced like he's gonna leave her for me, it's like that's not gonna happen. So just know what this is.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the competition thing of like, ooh, maybe he will leave me for her. Okay, I got to step it up. Like I kind of like that. But I also I think he's hot, and I kind of am like, try this out. Like it's like lending like my friend like a hairdresser. I don't know. Like I'm just like, have a good time, and like
But is that a sexual fetish?
Yeah, I think it's a fetish.
Okay.
It's called. I've looked into it, and it's called hot husband. So there's like a hot wife fetish that's way more prolific of like men who want their wives to be. It's not cuckolding. They're not in the corner like, what are you doing to her? Like they're just kind of like they either hear about it or they kind of like orchestrate it. And I don't want to be a part of it. I think he would like me to be a part of a thing with someone else, but I don't really. I'd rather just hear about it later.
Is this like another lever for you to not get really intimate with someone?
Yeah, that's what Dr. Drew had told me about.
Okay.
He was like, this is a fear of intimacy and you need to work on this. But I just am, I don't know if it's a fear of, at this point, like I just feel so solid with my boyfriend. I think before this might have been like, yeah, like go find someone better than me kind of thing. But now it's like, it just kind of, maybe I don't want him to, let me just play this out really quick. Okay. Yeah. Right now he comes home from work and is like, I think this girl is into me and maybe we could do something. Yeah, I'd be into it. I I just want to hear all about it though. Like I would want to hear about it while we were fooling around.
Right.
Like I would want us to like pretend it wasn't happening and like not talk about it and like save it like as like this
I get
secret treat that we would talk about during, because it just, I don't know, for every person I've ever been with, it has always been like a part of foreplay for me to hear about other women, like almost the courtship process. Like I like the like, will they, won't they? Like, how did you know? Like, I'm really horny for that. I think it's been from watching rom-coms growing up of like a hand touching, like that innocent stage of like, I think she might be into me, like that. And that's a part that I struggle with of being in a relationship with someone forever, that I'm never going to have that again. Of like
the
that
romance,
like,
the butterflies.
the butterflies of like, our legs are touching under the table and oh, he's not moving it. Like, you know that moment where you're like, there's a paper that could go in between your leg and like you both can feel it. And if it wasn't a sexual thing, you just move it instantly. Like it happens with people all the time where you're like, oh, I don't want to touch this person. Like, oh. But you just instead you both leave it and you're like, oh my God. Like that might be the best feeling I've ever felt in my life in that genre of feeling, right? Yeah. Like, and I'll never have that again with my boyfriend. I have to mourn that because that's true. Like if I'm in a monogamous relationship, I might have that flutter with someone and like indulge in it, but it can't go beyond that. And what's even the point
of it? Go beyond that for you?
Because he's not into that. And like that would be a breach for him. So it's not like a two-way street, which I think is fair because it's like, it's not like he doesn't even want this, like my weird fetish. Like he would be, the strange thing is he's like, I don't need anyone else or crave anyone else. I'll do it if it turns you on, but it's like not something.
Wow, that's super interesting.
It is. I always like kind of am reluctant to talk about it because it just seems guys hear about it, they're like, you're a dream girl. And it's like, honestly, if you play it out, like men don't really want men want to be kept. They like when women are kind of like jealous and care about whether they like sneaking around more than like, but not they like sneaking around, but if they're going to do it, they like to not have.
But I wonder if like I wonder if you say what you just said, like the perception that it makes you a dream girl, right? Like, I wonder if in some way that's not going back to that vein of perfectionism again. Like, I'm so perfect, my boyfriend could even sleep with somebody else and I wouldn't break up with him.
No, because I think it's like, that's the opposite. Like the girl who would like let that happen just to be a cool girl, like, kill me if I'm trying to be a pick-me girl like that. Like, I wish I didn't feel this way because it seems like I'm being like that kind of girl. Like, I don't do anything that would cause me pain. Like, it wouldn't hurt me. Like, that's
so interesting.
Listen, I guess I'm just confident in like, I'm a pretty great person to date. Like, I just feel like you might have more fun physically with another type of girl, like a girl with like an actual ass you can grab onto. Mine's kind of like, leaves a lot to be desired. People whiff it when they go to grab it. Like, but like, or like, just like different types of girls. Like I don't want to catch anything and I'm not like, oh, I want to taste her on you. It's not like that kind of thing. Like shower after, but then tell me about it. Like,
interesting.
I don't know. I like it's always been a part of our foreplay for me to ask him about past girls.
But so couldn't it just be like, couldn't he make up a story?
Yeah.
It wouldn't do the same thing. You're really fascinating.
That was the thing.
Me.
Well, this only came from like, we were together long enough that he ran out of all of his stories that had already happened. And I was like, I think you need to go make some new ones because like, I've already heard this one a lot, like,
wow.
There literally was a time where we were together. He went to a thing and like met a girl and like made out and did some other stuff and like told me all about it. Like now I'm remembering, and I'm not even joking. Like I was going through something in my life at the time that I was like, I need to talk to you about this. And he was like, I got a great story. He was so excited. And I barely cared. He was like almost disappointed. Like I literally just forgot to tell you about it. Like that's how much it doesn't. I struggle with jealousy so much with like the way I look, with comedy, always who is doing what, and I'm not good enough. But when it comes to my relationship, I just don't have a jealousy over him getting close to other women or being like, I have a lot of girlfriends that struggle with like jealousy issues of like being friends with ex-girlfriends or something like that. And I just don't, I don't have that. Maybe it's just with him, but I just don't have that.
Right.
But I have it everywhere else in my life, like crazy.
So interesting.
It's weird. I rarely
I want a
meet
whole
someone.
separate off the pod conversation with you.
Yes.
Wait. So obviously, like at Goop, we're into wellness
Yeah.
shit. And we sort of have this idea of like beauty as wellness. Like it's a multi-pronged approach. It's like internal, external beauty. And that how you care for yourself is like actually as important as what you're doing to your face or the creams you're putting on or whatever. So as somebody who is so beautiful inside and out, can you talk us through a little bit? Like, what is you mentioned Pilates, like, what do you have any self-care or wellness rituals?
Yeah, I do agree. Like,
So do I.
Yes, I
so
love it
hard.
so much. It's so hard. I like it. For the first time in my life, I can really say I do it to be strong and to look good and all the things that happens. But I love doing something every day that like at some point in the class, I'm like, I hate this.
Yeah, me too.
And you just doing one thing a day, even for 20 seconds that you're like in agony, holding a plank for a minute. Because once you get done with it, you're like, everything else seems like easy to do for the rest of the day. So I like to do that as, every day that I can, I try to go. So it ends up being like 3 times a week or whatever, if on a good week. This week it was 1. And then I find, it's a trend on Instagram, but when you can't fit in like a hard workout, being gentle with workouts, like that is new to me. It was always about like, you have to run 7 miles per hour and a 3 incline and for 30 minutes. And if you don't, then something bad will happen to your family, like OCD stuff, right? Yeah. So now I just do 30 minutes on a treadmill with a 12 incline, 3 miles per hour. Like it works. And then you get emails done. It's not in a way that you're like, and even take it down to a 2.5 if you are gasping and mess with the incline, but a strong incline without a lot of not running as much anymore. I was always running.
Right.
And then meditating when I can.
Great.
And that even means for literally 30 seconds, if you can fit it in, of just paying attention to your breath for just a short amount of time to ground. Journaling, writing from the perspective of God to you. Like if you're wondering what to write, or just free writing where it's illegible, like I don't even know what I'm doing, for 3 pages, fill up 3 pages of whatever hotel notepad or whatever piece of paper you can find around. And not having it have to look pretty, not having a perfect journal, it can just be a mess.
Yeah.
And then throw it away afterwards. My thing that is the best thing in my life is my girls chat. It's my WhatsApp that I have 24/7, 9 girls that are my best friends since high school, my best friends from college, and my best friends that I've met through comedy, all together. I've been the nucleus to kind of plan girls trips and have them all meet each other. So now we're all best friends.
Fun.
And it's any time of day, just getting on there and leaving a voice memo and just letting it all out. But I really learned that kind of just being able to share and not necessarily needing feedback, just having people listen. Because a lot of times my friends are like, sorry, I have something to share, but I can't give feedback. I'm like, it's not about that. Just get on and share. I'm not looking for you to be like, Nikki, that sounds interesting. I'm just trying to barf it out.
Yes.
And I really learned that from 12-step programs that I've been in here and there. So if someone's out there well, I don't have a group of 9 girlfriends that I have, you qualify for some 12-step program, look into them. They're all over the place. And they are just places you go and you share honestly, and no one's going to comment on it. No one knows your name. You can be on Zoom in a black box. I think people need to, I'm not saying it's going to cure whatever, but it's we need to talk more to each other. And I found that during COVID, I reached out to 12-step stuff to handle a part of my life that was getting unmanageable. And there literally is one for everyone. If you think well, I'm not addicted to anything, just look into it. You're going to qualify for one, because it's, well, you're too famous. No, I'm just kidding. But you can do a fake name and wear a mustache. But it's just it's so, those rooms for the people that have been, lucky enough to get entrance into them, which anyone can really go. You just hear such honesty that you don't hear anywhere else. And it's taught me how to be even more honest in my stand-up. And it's just safe. It's a safe space. So I think that's what's most important, is just being able to talk to someone. And therapy, going to therapy and couples therapy. Obsessed.
So important.
My boyfriend was so reluctant to do it, and we've been together off and on for 13 years. Just started doing it in the past couple of years, and he's obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with it.
That's so cool.
It's just, I can't recommend it enough. And it's just find anyone. And if you don't like the therapist, keep trying. It's like dating.
Yeah.
Don't give up. So yeah, those are mine.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But that's like a pretty good roster there.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I would like to meditate more though. That's always the one.
Okay, there's a little wellness lightning round.
Great.
Would you try this or not?
Okay.
A bee venom facial.
No, because I'm vegan.
Agree. I'm not vegan, but
Like, I don't want bees to have to like have any part in
right.
my beauty. Like,
so this is
they're suffering enough.
I think I know the answer to this one. Then.
Okay.
Leech detox therapy.
Well, maybe they like it though, because they're getting blood.
They don't die.
I'd have to like look at how they're cared for. And if they actually like sometimes the pedicures where the fish eat your skin, they're like, they like it. It's like, they don't. Well, you go, they're eating. It's like, no, they're starved so that they really they'll just eat your dead skin, which isn't a part of their diet. So don't go to those places ever, ever. Because I was always like, well, it's not harming them. They seem to like be like, I don't know, like
I think
eating my
that's
cows.
weird anyway. I don't really want to do that.
So gross anyway. But they starve them so that they do that. So leeches, I'd have to look into the ethics behind it. But yeah, I'd be down if they liked it. I'd do it for them.
Fire cupping massage.
Yeah, who wouldn't do that?
Agree.
I don't know what that is, but sure.
It's like cupping, but they heat up the cups with fire and they put them on your back.
Yeah.
It feels good. I've done
Give me those burns. Yeah, I'll take that.
Moon bathing.
What is that? Just
Sort of
bathing?
You lie out, I guess ideally on the grass, and you absorb lunar energy and recharge.
Yeah, I mean, am I buying in? Probably not. Is it seem like something that I could probably use to be forced to do that? Sure. Yeah, to like slow down. So yeah, but no.
Yeah, but no.
I'd be rolling my eyes the whole time and laughing about it, but.
Okay. Can you use your own blood if you're vegan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Vampire breast lift. Unlike the vampire facial, you put it in your breasts and then it gives them a natural lift.
I've done the vampire facial, the PRP on my scalp as well, where they like run your blood in the machine and put it back in.
I tried that and
I don't want to have someone like slather my boobs, and it will feel sexual even though it's not. I don't really care about my boob skin right now.
Okay, I agree. Would you try the Tom Brady diet of no coffee, no dairy, no nightshades, no grains, no
like
sugar?
Yeah, I could probably do it for like 15 minutes. No, I can't do no coffee. I wish I could. I would like to maybe go to somewhere that forced me to do it, but no, thank you to that.
What precipitated your veganism?
That was just getting a dog, 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And then, I always had dogs growing up, but like my own baby dog that was like kind of a rescue and kind of beat up from it too and like scared and like shaky. And then seeing factory farm footage and being like, oh, that's the same vibe my dog had. Like, oh shit. Like the way my dog was so horrified and like I felt so bad that it was like shaking in the corner after I beat it. No, like like the way that dog felt the first couple of days I had it before it trusted me is the way these millions of animals are feeling all the time. Like, I don't think I can do it anymore. Even though I love meat and cheese. Like it just clicked.
And what about if it was like pasture raised, regeneratively farmed?
Yeah, but I feel like I don't know where to get that. Like I don't trust it. And also at this point, after not having it for so long, like I don't crave it. I think probably in the first couple of years, I would have been like, yeah, I've been interested in that.
Right.
I think it came out like oysters were okay to eat as a vegan because they literally don't feel anything and it's like almost like they're plants. And so there was a whole thing of like, you can eat these now. And I was like, I think I'm done with like seafood. It used to be my favorite food. And I'm just like, I don't have the appetite for it. So I think any way that it can be done humanely is great. But I think that there's a lot of like these words like free range and grass fed that are like lies where they open up the window for the chickens to look out and they're like, go out. But the chickens don't know how to go out because they can't walk because their legs don't work because they're too fat because of all they're overfed. So they're free range technically because they could go out, but they don't because they can't walk. So it's like all these kind of things that I just, and then the bird, like I think chickens were the last thing for me to go. I was eating eggs and stuff because I'm like, okay, that's not like, they're not being slaughtered, but like you come to find out like, yeah, a lot have to be for that to happen. And I had birds growing up and I never connected like my parakeet who I loved so much, who had such a great personality and like so unique and was one of the best animals in terms of intelligence I've ever had. And I'm like, oh, and I'm just like dismissing chickens. Like they're nothing, like just because they have beady eyes doesn't mean they don't. And even if they aren't intelligent, like this whole idea of like, if an animal's intelligent, don't eat it. But if it's dumb, it's like, so should we eat dumb people? Like, we don't do that to people. If they're dumb, we don't treat them differently. We like make laws so that they're treated as good as everyone else. So it's like, you know, like, because it's in our nature to be like, you're dumb, you don't matter or something. And I just think that fish, whether or not they're intelligent, I don't care. I just don't, if they can feel pain, I don't want to partake in it.
I totally understand.
So that's kind of like, even bugs, I'm like, I wish bugs didn't feel pain, but some studies just came out that they can. So now I'm like,
you don't squash a fly.
No, I hate centipedes, but even them, I'd find some way to make it work.
Yeah.
If I see a spider in my house, I name it. So I start to like feel like it's a pet.
You're way more evolved.
If I'm too scared to get it, if I'm too scared to like put a cup over it, will never enter that room, and I'll be like, that's Trevor's room or whatever. Whatever gets me through.
It's really sweet. It's very so empathetic.
That's sometimes I feel brimming over the top with it.
No, it's not. It's an amazing aspect of you. It's, it's really sweet to hear you talk about it. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on the Goop podcast.
You're better than I could have even anticipated. I'm a huge fan. Thank you so much for being you and everything you've given us over the many years that you don't look like you've aged.
You're so sweet.
Thank you.